Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we're going to be looking at the natal chart of Tyra Banks, who is from Inglewood, California, United States. She's born December 4th, 1973, at 7:13 p.m. Birth time accuracy excellent, excellente. Tyra Lynn Banks, born December 4th, 1973. Is an American television personality, producer, author, actress, and former model. She first became famous as a model, appearing twice on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue and working for Victoria's Secret as one of their original angels. Banks is the creator and the host of the UPN/the CW reality television show America's Next Top Model, co-creator of True Beauty, and was the host of her own talk show, The Tyra Banks Show. I forgot about that. Banks is one of 4 African Americans and 7 women who have been repeatedly ranked the world's most influential people by Times Magazine. Okay, I was sort of poo-pooing Tyra a little bit before I started this, and I was like, America's Next Top Model, cultural phenomenon, begat Drag Race, and it was sort of making me like Tyra Mail and the whatever RuPaul says. And the Tyra Banks talk show was it was the tea. It really was the tea. When she had Naomi Campbell on there and she was like, and I'm going to have an audience, or I'm going to have no audience. There's going to be no cheering section for you. And you bullied me. I remember you were a bitch. So I love that about her. Tyra has the rising Cancer. And so we're going to be looking at that. And as we've said in this series, as this is now the 4th person that I've read with rising Cancer, so she's mother. So we were talking about RuPaul. She is I think I said in the last video or one of these Sagittarius videos, I was supposedly or hypothetically, if Cancer is in your first house, then you were mother. You are the mother, how drag queens say mother. And she is sort of she's Tyra from season 2 of Drag Race's mother because her name is Tyra too. She's sort of RuPaul's mother because RuPaul pretty much stole or is parodying the premise of America's Next Top Model in RuPaul's Drag Race to the point that for the first 6 seasons, all of the queens misspeak and they're like, and I'm going to be America's Next Top Drag Queen or whatever this is. It's America's Next Top Model is what they're aiming for. So she's rising Cancer, and she is mother, the House of Tyra Banks, right? I don't. Oh, and then the smoky eye. I guess I know so much about Tyra. The smoky eye and her talking about her coming up as a model. She's like, I learned how to do my makeup from drag queens. So she's family. You know what I mean? She's family. She's gay culture. She's LGBTQAI plus. She's a good person, I guess. Literally, all celebrities are bad until we look at their supposed natal charts. And this also clarifies or emphasizes the fact that with the rising Cancer, your biggest priority with the second house in Leo is to be famous. And I do believe, from what I know about her, is that her mother really pushed her not pushed her into modeling, but I know at certain times where she felt like she wanted to give up, her mom was there for her and was encouraging to her, so she says in her story. And if her mother was into astrology or into mysticism or whatever, and then her knowing that her daughter is a rising Cancer with a second house in Leo, it would be all of their biggest priorities to try to make her famous or popular. And she's pretty famous, pretty popular. She has a 3rd house in Virgo. So 3rd house, I would say, is the environment that you grew up in as a kid. Inglewood, California, probably sort of suburban. Virgo, to me, always talks about Virginia. And there's cities in Virginia. There are slums in Virginia. It doesn't mean every house in Virginia has a cow outside. But it's very conservative. The environment in which she was raised as a child is conservative. But then also, 3rd house in Virgo talks to me about what they speak into existence, which is a lot of work. So if she's a model and she's talking to people about how she's a model. She's talking in order to attract or manifest more work into her life, which is good because as a model, you want to be working. As an actress, as a TV personality, you want to be working. And then just to cycle back, being born in 1973 makes her also the year of the ox. So she is like a workhorse, you know, like she's supposed to be working. It calms her nerves. And then she has the fourth house in Libra, and as a model in this series, Libra is the scales. Like sometimes when I'm doing tarot readings and I talk about Libra and the seventh house, I talk more about like magnets and the law of attraction. In this reading of natal charts, it's like they're celebrities. They're focused on their weight. They're focused on their looks. They're focused on their weight. They're focused on how they look, and looks and looks and looks. So she's the fourth house in Libra, which I believe she also has Pluto and Neptune, which we're going to double check. Let's look. Uranus. See, I meant to say Uranus actually. Secondhand psychic, I meant to say Uranus, but I did. I did mean to say Uranus, and then Pluto and Uranus. And if you watch these videos enough, I misspeak a lot. Um, so she has Uranus in Libra, and she also has Pluto in Libra. This talks about her mother being very beautiful, her mother being very fair and balanced. So I think everything she says about her mom is true, about her being encouraging. But then also it's like, I ate McDonald's. Don't tell my mom because she's like investing in me, and my weight is conducive to my next paycheck because I have to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated or in my lingerie for Victoria's Secret. But then also with Uranus there, it talks about her weight knocking down boundaries in her life. And I think like the whole thing about her being in Sports Illustrated is like, they didn't have a lot of women of color on the cover, and maybe she was one of the first, I want to say. Maybe I'm lying, I don't know. Don't know the history of Sports Illustrated, sorry. And then also like, Pluto, Scorpio, it's death. Death happens. It happens every day. We don't have to be afraid of it. So maybe there's a lot of death and upsetting things happening on her mother's side of the family. But to me, also, it talks about like the smoky eye and a gothic look and wearing a lot of black and white. So that might like affect her feelings, or don't bother her none to dress like a funeral every day. She might be like in her soul, like a little bit gothy. And I think anybody that went through the 90s and had to watch that scary ass Batman Returns, and I was a kid, and it was like, you know, kids in the 80s had Care Bears and Smurfs. I had Nightmare Before Christmas. And all of my Christmas toys looked like Halloween, and it was awful. And I'm mad about it, actually. I used to think it was cool, and now I'm angry. I'm like, why did the time that I grow up have to be scary Halloween and scary Batman? Like my mom, Batman was pretty much like a gay clown that used to run around with a little boy and chase around drag queens with painted faces. My Batman was like gothic and horrible. And why did Michelle Pfeiffer swallow that bird? Like, and then I'm pretty sure she brought it from home, and I'm pretty sure she'd been practicing. And I'm like, how many birds had to die so that Michelle Pfeiffer could feel like Catwoman? This has nothing to do with Tyra Banks. It's all about my feelings and me surviving my gothic childhood. Anyway, so maybe she feels the same way. I don't know. But like I said, fourth house, Cancer, Pluto. It just talks about her being goth or like having to change her looks. And that I remember that was like a big thing in America's Next Top Model, like them like shaving down people's teeth or talking about their weight. Honestly, Scorpio is like the sign of like anorexia and bulimia, actually. So dealing with that and dealing with her feelings and emotions. And then she has the fifth house in Scorpio. So I keep saying over and over again, to the point of nauseum to myself, that the fifth house is a house of sexy distractions and obstacles and battling the ego, which she has in Scorpio. So maybe like her ego is based off of her psychic intuition and her abilities, feeling psychically intuitive. She also has Merco. She has Merkio in Scorpio too. Mercury in Scorpio. So she sounds psychic. Like, I guess if you're talking to her and she's complaining about her own problems, then probably will resonate with you. So she's like, "Oh my God, yeah, I got a ticket on my car, and someone stole my ID at the bar, and just yada yada yada." And you're like, "Oh, like I got a ticket on my car, and I lost my ID at the bar. Is she trolling me? What's happening?" But then also with the Mercury and Scorpio, so she might sound like someone like a, intentionally, unintentionally, just like even with Jake Gyllenhaal, it was feeling like all of these like really negative and bad energies around food and eating and diets and things like that. So as I'm like, Pluto is death and dying, but it's also dieting, and words that sound similar. So maybe she was on a lot of like crash diets or like awful diets, and she might have even been like a spokeswoman for veganism or Atkins or something, some type of diet pill or something bad, or just like the modeling industry in general, which does not project healthy body weights. And maybe she has like body dysmorphia and issues with that as well. I mean, like how, like if she didn't, I'd be surprised. Like I'd be like, if she didn't have, body dysmorphia or a negative energy around her looks, I would be like, you are a soldier, and they should study you. So that's her fifth house, and her sixth house, and also I guess like maybe like experiencing loss is very difficult for her, which I think it is for a lot of people. So she might have like a very like substantial or a cousin that she values a lot that might have passed and kind of slowed her down because she really cared for them. And then how she's supposed to come over all this death and loss and grieving and um, sad things. Her fourth house and her fifth house feel very sad to me. But how she's supposed to overcome these morbid or sad feelings is with her sixth house in Sagittarius, where she also has her sun. She has her sun, she has the planet of Neptune and her north node. So it is her destiny to be courageous and competitive. Um, the way that she's to get on television is by being courageous and competitive. And at her soul, she is courageous and competitive. So the Neptune in Sagittarius is really interesting because it's like she has a Sagittarius to thank for being on TV, but she is also a Sagittarius. So it may not have been a director's assistant or her mother or her father or her cousin or Eddie Murphy. It might have just been herself. I don't even know Eddie Murphy's sign. Eddie Murphy is such a huge star. And maybe he's a Gemini. I literally like shot in the dark, don't like gun held up my head, wouldn't know nothing about him. But he comes to mind, or maybe Scary Spice was influential. I don't know her sign either. I know her name is Tracy though. Um, but most likely it was Tyra doing things for Tyra, because she always knew that it was her purpose to be famous. But the sixth house, so that's the thing too, because like I said, like I've done a several rising cancer videos, and actually like studying the rising cancer has been very interesting to me because I guess for me, I hear rising cancer, I don't necessarily think like, get a camera, she's gonna be a star. But then once you look at it like, under analysis, you're like, oh yeah, second house in Leo, like get a camera, she should be a star. But also the third house in Virgo has never really stood out to me as being substantial, until looking at her chart because she also has her sun in her sixth house, which is the Virgo house. So she's meant to be like a healer. Like she's meant to heal people, and she's been, from what I feel, I don't know, like maybe every person that went on her show 20 years later feels famous, they're able to make money, they're able to take care of themselves, and she brought them a lot of healing that I do not know about. But like my first inclination is that she actually has done like a lot of damage and a lot of like hurting to people who, like I don't know. I've not watched all 25 cycles of America's Next Top Model, but I'm sure it was not very life affirming for people who are differently abled or, are special, like who don't look like a supermodel, you know what I mean? But maybe in some arc of her life, she'll be able to heal those people that she's been able to that she was able to hurt through, I don't know the word, but like fat phobia or just whatever, you know. And maybe it's like the thing with her television show. Maybe that's what she's trying to do with the talk show. Because I remember there was like one episode where she was wearing like a fat suit, and I was like, a fat suit is not the same thing as being overweight, and the emotional trauma and emotional eating that you do to become overweight, and the waking up every morning with like an extra 200, 300 pounds that you have to move around. Like someone could be telling you a story like, oh, I woke up and I walked to the store and I got a box of candy and I got a coffee and I walked back home. And it's like to a person who's like 300 pounds, it's like, you're like Moses. Like, could you split the Red Sea? Like I can't walk around anywhere without my legs chafing or my body hair like causing me issues. And you're just walking around and getting coffee and candy. It's like I got 300 pounds to lift up to get out of bed to think about doing that, which I'm laughing at, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And so I don't know. Like, so maybe she, like, through her talk show, maybe she's already done this. Like, she's trying to bring a lot of healing into the world. And I see it in her birth time accuracy. It says excellent. But I think she's done a lot of harm to the world. And I think she's going to bring a lot of healing to the world. And it's part of her destiny. And then she has the seventh house in Capricorn, meaning that someone with a sun in Capricorn would be a good partner for her, or Capricorn energy in general. She also has Venus in Capricorn, so I think she's very attracted to Capricorns. And I mean, being a model, being a TV producer, she's also, her accolades in her bio. It says that she's a producer, an author, an actress before it even says model. And so with the Venus in Capricorn, with the seventh house in Capricorn, she's more attracted to people who wear suits and who are producers and designers rather than, wanting to date another model or another actress or another author. And maybe there's a lot of things in her book about her mom or about, the things that she did in her youth that were toxic and how she wants to heal the world. Didn't read the Tyra book. Don't I was gonna read a book today actually. Like I was on this whole arc today. I'm like, oh, you need to like. I read a newspaper article a couple weeks ago, but I was like, oh, maybe being so impatient and Mercury in Aries, like maybe you need to go read a book and get lost in a fantasy world, as Pisces do enjoy. I'm a Pisces. But I was like, I'll read these natal charts. Like this is more interesting and I guess potentially more lucrative for me. Um, so I don't know who she's dating or who she's married to or who she has been married to or if she has ever been married or wants to get married. But if she does and she wants to, a good person for her to marry would be a Capricorn. And then in her eighth house, she has Aquarius, where she also has Jupiter. So I think she's into astrology. I think she's into astrology, or maybe like she watched a translated episode of Walter Mercado when she was a child, or her mom or her grandmother is into astrology, and that's how they knew that she was going to be famous, and that the whole family should get behind her and try to push her into fame because it will bring them a lot of luck and good fortune. Jupiter is also Sagittarius' rising planet, so she's very Virgo, she's very Sagittarian, and it's all very fortunate for her. So like she's not very avant-garde, I mean, like in her modeling maybe, but she's very conservative. She doesn't wear like pink hair. She's not super rock and roll and gothic, and maybe like I said, like maybe she wants to be wearing black all the time and have bright pink hair and look like that Esurance girl they used to have in the commercials, the cartoon one. And her friends, so maybe she has a lot of psychic friends. Maybe her mom is friends with Dionne Warwick, or I think like there's a lot of people in Hollywood that are like 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of separation, and relation to like Whitney Houston and Dionne Warwick. Maybe Whitney Houston is her cousin. Maybe Whitney Houston is the cousin that I'm talking about that she lost that is making her sad. I don't know. I guess I could Google it. But I think about Whitney Houston a lot. I think about how they bullied her into an early grave. I think about how they bullied her daughter. I think about how they still continue to bully Bobby Brown. And, it's like I don't really know like who her white contemporary would be because she's sort of uncomparable to anybody. But when you're a black woman in Hollywood or in the modeling industry and you can't afford to have the esoteric hairdresser that's going to know how to do your hair and know how to do your makeup when they didn't start making foundation for black women until Rihanna came along. um, I could see that being like something that's really on her mind, and something she was very fortunate to have because maybe like the over the counter foundations just really match Tyra's skin tone very easily, opposed to people with deeper complexions. Are we gonna talk about Whitney Houston right now? Start crying? No. But yeah, I think about that. I think about Christina Bobby Brown or whatever Whitney Houston's daughter's name, and how people just like sort of turned on E News and like, oh ha ha, Whitney Houston is dying, and they're always calling her a crackhead, and I'm like, okay, well if Cyndi Lauper's a bad example, Madonna's a bad example. I don't know, like Britney Spears, they kind of like put her on a stake too. But let's say there is like a pop star from the '80s named like Jennifer or something, and that's like she's a one name sensation, like Tiffany. I think we're alone now, and Madonna and Britney and Christina. Let's say that there was a Brenda, Brenda in the '80s. I think we made up a fake name, but I want a new fake name. Um, and Brenda's a white woman, and she can go to CVS and buy her makeup, or Dwayne Reed, or Peoples, or whatever's going on in the past. Versus Whitney Houston, who like needs a black beautician, or like sort of like also like how RuPaul would go on certain game shows and they don't have a drag queen makeup artist for him, or they don't have a black makeup artist or hairstylist on certain photo shoots or for certain TV productions. And then it's like, oh, her hair looks bad or her makeup looks bad on this talk show. Oh, she's on crack and she's bad. We hope she dies. Versus Brenda, who's like a white hairstylist. Every place she goes, there's a hairstylist who knows how to do her hair and knows how to do her makeup and make her look good, while she's abusing drugs just as bad or worse than she is. But because Whitney Houston is black and she's on crack and has said a lot of funny anecdotes about it, and there's Deborah Wilson every Saturday night or every Thursday, whenever Mad TV would come on, just like being an amazing singer and skewering the hell out of her. It's sad, and I remember the thing with like Whitney Houston and Wendy Williams, and she's like calling the show and like talking to her, and she's like, "Don't do this." So I'm sad. Like I've probably before I even heard a note of Whitney Houston's music was like, "Oh, she's bad and a clown and she's dumb and she's on drugs and she's a bad person." Where it's like I'm pretty sure all celebrities are on drugs of some sort if it's not just Ambien or abusing prescription medicine, and because she doesn't have access to the beauty products that she needs, she is then the pariah. She is the Pariah Carey of the music industry. And you can't, I'm not going to go on about that, but like I love Whitney Houston. This is no longer about I'm changing my whole channel. This video is no longer about Tyra Banks, and even people say that about Tyra. They're like, "Oh, she looks cracked out," or da 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 da. She was recently. This is 2025 at the time of recording of this video. She was recently selling ice cream in DC randomly, which might have to do with drugs. I don't know. But other than Whitney Houston and drug abuse, and 1973, like she lived through the crack epidemic and the war on drugs and everything, and I'm sure that had a toll on her family that she might talk about in her book. And I'm an ignorant, and I don't read books, so I don't know about what happened to Tyra's life. I Maybe I will. Maybe this is the book that I'm supposed to read. My ex boyfriend downloaded the book Guru by RuPaul, and it was like a horrible cash grab of just like knick-knack sayings that I was just like, okay, we just got screwed and conned by RuPaul, almost worse than Yara Sofia, or Nicole Page Brooks. So that's fun. A good $45 fuck you to um, all of your loyal, dedicated fans, Ru. But maybe with hopes, maybe I'll go to the library and I won't have to buy it. I'll read Tyra's book and it'll be life changing. And she has a third house in Virgo. Her sun is in the sixth house. Buy Tyra's book, I guess. Maybe I won't go to the library. Maybe I'll buy a book. If I see it somewhere and it's affordable and I have the money to buy it, I will buy Tyra's book. Everybody out there listening to this, buy Tyra's book. It's apparently really good, so says her natal chart. But you don't have to take my word for it. Go read it yourself, you asshole. I love the Reading Rainbow. It's from Reading Rainbow. It's a Reading Rainbow joke. So she has a seventh house in Capricorn, eighth house in Aquarius, good friends, psychic, lucky friends. Maybe is family with Dionne Warwick and Whitney Houston. And she has a ninth house in Pisces. So she's looking for a long distance pen pal buddy in another country. If she's looking for somebody to get married to immediately, with the psychic intuition and, don't have to do with the bric-a-brac or the backwash of getting to know you, that would be Pisces. Because Pisces would be like, oh, I'm psychic and I'm intuitive. You have a rising Cancer. I'm a Pisces. Let's get married. You're Tyra Banks. And you're Tyra Banks. So screw having a rising Cancer. Screw being a Sagittarius. She could literally be a Scorpio with a rising Gemini, and this Pisces or whoever, people still want to marry her. And she has the 10th house in Aries. So she's very aggressive about her fame, and I guess she has a moon in Aries as well. So, when she's upset, she might throw like temper tantrums, especially regarding her career. And she might be like, doing this is my destiny, get out of my way, So instead of the like New Yorker, like, I'm walking here, she's like, God put me here for a reason, get out my way. And then what I say about the moon, like, I have a moon in Pisces. So when I'm happy, I cry. When I'm sad, I cry. When I'm angry, I cry. When I'm frustrated, I cry. Because I have the moon in Pisces. And that's like, I'm like, oh, this is so happy. It makes me sad. Oh, I'm so hungry. It makes me sad. Oh, seeing other people being happy and, Christmas, and watching a little girl get a pony that she's wanted for 7 years makes me sad. And I'm not like sad out of envy or like, oh, this is sad. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm experiencing happiness. I'm experiencing the anger. But my reaction to it is sadness because I have moon in Pisces. If, I don't know, like when they got Saddam Hussein or when they killed Osama bin Laden, and it's like this long-term war, like, I guess something about it, she might be happy that these evil people are dying, and she's like, but this makes me angry. Maybe she in her mind was like, oh, I hated Inglourious Bastards because if I want to watch a movie with somebody, shooting Hitler in the face 1,000 times, I wanted it to be me, and now I'm angry about it. Grr. Watching other people win Grammys for singing, she's like, I wanted to be a singer, and now I'm angry. Grr. I'm hungry, but I cannot eat because I'm a model or whatever it is, and now I'm angry. Grr. So that's what I feel about the moon in Aries, where it's like, I just got this promotion, I just got this job that I've always wanted, and I've always wanted to be a trapeze performer, the flying trapeze in the circus, or, I always wanted to do a photo shoot with this photographer, or, I always wanted to drink Cristal out of a rhino bone cup. And now I'm finally doing it, but now I'm angry for some reason, So that's how I feel about that, and it's part of her destiny. She might probably have a lot of diva moments and temper tantrums. I'm pretty sure she like coined the term diva in the early 2000s, and Devo, and not Miles J, Miss J, which, Drag Race and Miss J and Tyra Mail and all the gay people that were judges and cast members, and Janice Dickinson. I forgot about Janice Dickinson. Janice Dickinson's on TikTok. Follow her. So maybe she has a lot of angry issues, and not to be racist, which, as I say, anybody who tells you that they aren't racist is a super duper racist. So maybe she watched the Tyler Perry movie Diary of an Angry Black Woman, and she's like, I am the angry black woman. That is my life. Like, anger, grr. But it's like she has Moon, Chiron, and Mars in her 10th house of anger. And to me, whenever Capricorn and Aries energy get together, or whenever Saturn and Mars get together, it's like the Tower Tarot card, meaning like she's Storm. Oh, maybe she wanted to be Storm in what do you call that? In the Spider-Man movie. Maybe she wanted to be Storm in one of those Spider-Man movies. Maybe she wanted to be Storm in the X-Men movie, and it got to Halle Berry. And then I don't know, like even watching that as a kid, because when I was a kid, they made all the. I don't know if I think it was actually after the movies. They made all the X-Men like teenagers, but I wouldn't really necessarily cast Halle Berry as Storm. She does kind of have this like honestly, I wouldn't cast Halle. I mean, at that time there was nobody else. I would have cast Halle Berry obviously, but like I probably wouldn't have cast Halle Berry as Storm. Definitely would not have cast Tyra Banks as Storm. And I think that the woman Cynthia, whatever her last name is, like the woman from Wicked, I think she actually would have made a better. Because I saw this interview, and they were like, "Oh, if you could be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who would you be?" And she said Storm, and I was like, "Girl, everybody want to be Storm. Like she controls the rain and snow. Like it's always especially when you're a kid. It's like I can make snow days. I'm Storm. This is the best X-Men ever." I was like, she's all bald head, and I was like, that's such a like I don't know. I'm not a big Marvel or DC fan. I don't know all the esoteric characters that she would be better to be cast as, but I think she would make better as I don't even know her name, but like what's her name? Wolverine's like girlfriend at some point with a that also has the adamantium or the nails or the claws or whatever. I think she would make a better one of those. But I actually do think that she would be a really good Storm because Storm is supposed to have like bass to her voice. Like she's supposed to be like, "I am Storm and I'm summoning storms. I have bass in my voice." Like, which I don't really feel like Halle Berry has. Like she's cute. Like Halle Berry's super cute. Tyra's like very sexy, very adorable, very admirable. I don't really feel like she'd make a good Storm in a movie. Honestly, I feel like Halle Berry, even at whatever age she is now and whatever age type, would be more like a Jubilee or like sparkles, cutesy, you know? So maybe she's angry about that. I don't know. I am, I guess. I don't know. I'm talking about it. Um, and 10,000 Aries is very aggressive about like accomplishing things. So, what is it? Sagittarius right next door to Capricorn. If anything, like if this entire chart was wrong and if her birthday was a lie, I would say like, and she keeps her actual birthday secret. I would say she's like similar, very similar to a Capricorn. I would say like her sun, if her sun is not Sagittarius, I would say all the combinations. So like born on the fourth, which four, it's a Cancerian number, but it's also an Aries number relating to the tarot to the Emperor card. I would say that like with all this together, it seems like a stereotypical sun in Capricorn or a stereotypical sun in Aries. She's like an angry black woman, like there's no other way to say it than like the racial stereotype of like the angry black woman, and maybe that's something that she's tried to fight against, stereotypes and being pigeonholed because it's like I said, pop star Brenda, crackhead pop star, 80s pop star Brenda, um, who gets all of her hair and makeup done professionally because some gay person in the audience is like, "I'll do your hair. I know how to do white woman hair." Um, gets all the benefits in life and all the benefits of the doubt in life. Maybe there was nobody giving Tyra the benefit of the doubt. So now that we've completely alienated everyone by race and racial stereotypes, we are going to talk about her. Like, I could not get out of her 10th house. Like there is a lot going on in her 10th house that maybe even I don't understand or I need to like look further into in a later video. But she has 11th house in Taurus. I mean, she's got a lot of rich friends, a lot of rich, lucky psychic friends. Taurus, I'm always talking about Taurus and weight and cows and countrysides. But Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. But I think it does have a relation to the High Priestess Tarot card, which has a relationship to the moon. And they are known for being very psychic and intuitive, I think, like very bluntly. Um, Taurus, I'd actually say, is more spiritually like a giraffe, meaning that the giraffe spirit, meaning that the giraffe is not psychic, the giraffe is just tall. So if the giraffe is like, hey, hyenas are coming, it's not because they got a feeling in their boobs or up their butt. They're like, no, I see beyond the trees. There's like a pack of hyenas coming beyond the pack of trees. And if the lion and the zebra don't want to listen to the giraffe, who is not psychic, who is not giving you, who's not reading tarot cards because they don't have hands, because they are a giraffe. They're literally just giving you the brass tacks of what they see beyond the trees because their neck is so long. And that's very much Taurus. So she might have like a lot of, she's a model, I guess. She has a lot of tall friends that have a lot of intuition. And then maybe it's why she made the pivot from just being a model to being a producer and an author and a this and a that and selling ice cream in DC. Because, maybe she talked to Iman and she was like, there is no future for the model. Like, you'll be living hand to mouth, you will have no money. Or maybe she talked to David Bowie, because David Bowie is a Capricorn and Iman is a Leo, and I know everybody's signed. Like, literally, I was like, I used to know, because I used to read nothing but astrology books, like when I was in middle school, and I was like, I know everybody, every celebrity's sign, and their rising, and their moon, and their Mars, and their Venus. And it's been a very long time since I've been in middle school. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know any celebrities. Zendaya sounds like a made up name to me and like a made up person, but she's like been the toast of the town for the past 20 years. And I think she's a Virgo. I know Tom Holland, I think, is a Virgo. Could be making that up. But, so maybe it's not, or maybe just watching Iman's life or watching David Bowie's life or watching, never mention her name, Naomi Campbell's life, who is a Taurus because she's an old timey celebrity from when I knew all the celebrities and their signs. Um, and maybe deep down inside, maybe right now she's skipping to my loo with Naomi and their friends, but I think Naomi is involved in like a lot of like really dark, evil things. Like, who gets an island? Who's buying people islands? Evil people are buying people islands. She, I can't wait to do Taurus, which I feel like will be like 3 years from now, but um, she's interesting. She's a very interesting person. So maybe she spoke to David Bowie, maybe she spoke to Iman about her career and its direction, and she was like, I'm not going to be an anorexic model until I'm 50. I'm going to pivot, I'm going to make a change. And then she has a 12th house in Gemini, so little skinny gay people make her miserable. Little skinny elfy pixie people make her miserable because it's her 12th house. But also, the people from the 12th house who make you miserable, they have a lot to teach you about jealousy and how to survive it. And it's like, look, you know, having the rising Gemini will not make your life perfect. Being super skinny, being super, having a little light lily voice will not make your life perfect. Um, Looking more like Storm from the X-Men cartoon versus Jubilee will not make your life perfect. It is just a life. And having the rising Cancer, which does not seem like an auspicious or fortunate position, I'm like, oh, rising Cancer, like you're gonna get like really big breast or something, or like a really big belly. And you cling and you hold on to things and you don't let go. And that might be good if you're sinking on the Titanic, but like it might be better to take one of those safety boats and get off the ship. Um, who knew that if you come from a good family, having a rising Cancer, they'll push you to the top and they'll celebrate your fame. Whereas if you have the sun in Leo or the rising Leo, people might just think you're a pompous jerk. And I think that the rising Cancer, it is like shy enough and humble enough and wholesome enough that people will want to see you succeed. And I don't know if there's anybody like truly trying to sabotage Tyra that don't want to see her, that doesn't want to see her do well. Maybe some Gemini or some Taurus, but dealing with that, it's almost like Gemini is the next door neighbor whose grass is greener. It's like their home is noticeably better, and it's like going over there, not specifically to see where the roof leaks or, where there are dead roses in their garden, but seeing the dead roses in their garden. They're like, all roses die, they might have a beautiful flowers at this beginning of spring, but all the flowers will die and it will be winter for everybody eventually. And I do not have to be jealous of the Gemini, and I can let the Gemini live and be happy, and I can live and be happy and literally be the mother of Drag Race. I wouldn't be surprised if like RuPaul got canceled and they replaced Rue and Michelle Visage with Tyra and Violet Chachki and Monet Exchange. Would that not be better judges? We love RuPaul here. I feel like Nicole Page Brooks' spirit and or living spirit in the astral realm comes to me like, stop supporting her. She made my name a joke, and I can't stand to look at my own name because of RuPaul, and so problematic, and the fracking. And for a lot of gay people, for a lot of black people, I'm like, frack the world, RuPaul. Like, oh my God. Like, if I found out that RuPaul, Barack Obama, and Tyra Banks were like fracking and digging up oil, I'd be like, oh my God, I will go work on Tyra Banks' oil rig, you know? Um, but I don't know how other people feel about them. And there's been a lot of, like I understand RuPaul a lot. I understand why, if you want to win a vote, you have to scratch a bigot's itch. And trans people have always sort of been on the precipice of what's appropriate in society. And a lot of people have a lot of issues with it, mainly probably transphobia probably stemming from their own insecurities about sexuality and gender. I'm not here to burn RuPaul at the stake, but I do think a lot of his transgressions should be talked about. And I don't think that the parody that he did with Tyra Mail, um, to me, in my life experience, has caused a lot of harm. But it is one of the most successful, to me, in my world, reality television shows. I mean, they're doing RuPaul's Drag Race in almost every country with every gay eccentric millionaire that's willing to pay for the production. I think Michelle Visage is cool. I think she's super cool. But then it is sort of this weird, esoteric fever dream of like RuPaul's quasi famous friends with LaToya Jackson. And LaToya is a character on her own where everybody thinks that she's lying about, I don't, even as a tarot reader and as a psychic, I don't know what happened in Neverland. I don't know about Michael Jackson. I don't read cards on him. I'd have read cards on LaToya, where I feel like she's lying. So I don't know. I don't know all the details. Don't want to know them. None of my business. You know what I mean? But how cool would that be? Where it's like RuPaul, Tyra Banks, and Santino Rice or Merle Ginsburg, or like I said, Violet Chachki. I don't know if she's the first thing that came to mind as a judge, even though she did not know that flannel and Timberlands buttas were New York from the 80s or 90s or whatever she said. I stopped watching Fashion Photo Review after that. I was like, Raja and Raven really don't know anything about. Oh, Raven was on the Tyra Banks like this. There's something going on. Raven or Raja was on America's Next Top Model, not as a contestant, but I think as a judge. So there's something happening. There's something happening right now. I feel like it. Um, so how cool would that be to have maybe Tyra, Miss J, bring back Miss J, bring back my girls, Miss J, and the other guy I feel like his name was J too. Maybe Tyra Banks will have a competitive drag show. Like a competitive, maybe even a tele, like, and I know a lot of the drag queens, they sort of want a televised drag pageant that is not Drag Race. So maybe she comes out with a show called Mother, and it is like the best mother of the house or something. And I think that honorary mention Willie Ninja deserves Mother of the Year, Mother of the Decade, Mother of the Century award because she has taken the House of Ninja to very far places. Um, that name, LaBeija, carries so much weight. As I met someone from the House of LaBeija, and it made me weaken the knees, and I was like, oh my God, they're famous. They're a LaBeija. And I've met a lot of people from the House of Pendarvis, which I do not feel like is celebrated enough, but is worthy of celebration. Um, this all came about drag queens, isn't it? Yeah, there's something going on with Tyra and drag queens and RuPaul and a reality show in the future, and I think it'll be really good. Really good things I see for Tyra. Okay, so thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, and watching. And I really feel like I'm channeling the spirit of Whitney Houston right now because this whole video is about Whitney Houston. And my house is cold and I'm burning hot, so maybe that's something to do with something. And thank you so much for liking. I could literally talk for another hour about this. Thank you so much for liking, sharing. Maybe I'll do a tarot reading on Tyra Banks and see what is actually going on in the world of drag and Tyra and celebrity. But thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing and sharing this video with your best friend who is a Sagittarius rising Cancer to talk about how awesome they are and how much we should support them and try to make them famous and like them and share their content because it should be our priority because they have the second house in Leo. All right. Thank you so much for listening, liking, sharing, subscribing. I will see you in my next video. Bye.